Hey, how's it going everyone? Today's video is mostly going to be in the context of video games, but also applies to other media such as TV shows and movies. This video was inspired by one made by the Escapist channel, where they were having a conversation about completing games before reviewing them. And that conversation was sparked due to backlash that a game reviewer, Mike Diver, had received for his tweet, which read, "Reminder that you don't need to be good at games to write about them, or stream them, or even make them. You don't need to finish a game to review it, to publish an opinion and score it. Most of the time, we don't get the time." I completely agree with the first part of this tweet. You don't need to be a pro at a game to have fun playing it, and you definitely don't need to be one to form your own opinion and vocalize it. People watch streamers for a variety of reasons and of varying skill levels. They're mostly interested in the personality of the streamer anyways, enjoying the comments they give while playing and watching their reactions to fails. And of course there are going to be people who enjoy watching high-level streamers because they enjoy competitive play, or they're interested in learning some new tech.
Nice.
The real controversy is sparked from the second half of the tweet. You don't need to finish a game to review it, to publish an opinion and score it. This is technically true, but I feel this comes with a few asterisks next to it. And some of these asterisks are what I think Jack and Nick were missing from their conversation, which I'm going to be referencing and commenting on throughout the video, especially Jack's portion since he agrees with the tweet, while Nick acknowledges the nuance behind it.
I agree with this tweet.
Most of this tweet I agree with.
Okay.
I don't think you should review a game that you haven't finished in certain cases. So let me break this down, right? So this is a very broad statement with a lot of nuance behind it.
When it comes to the idea of reviewing media, there's a certain expectation that comes with it. Anytime you give your opinion or criticize something, you've essentially reviewed it. Then it's a question of, are you reviewing part of something or the whole thing? Usually when someone says review, it's assumed the entire thing is taken into consideration unless specified. For example, look at these two sentences. This is a great game. Compared to, from what I've played, it's a great game. Both sentences are praising said game, but one sounds like it's complimenting the whole product, while the other one sounds more like someone who doesn't want to make a conclusive overall statement just yet. Or, if we use TV shows as an example, if you're told this is a review of the show Close Enough, then you probably expect me to talk about the entire season. If I only talk about the first episode, while still a review of the show, you would probably feel a little misled and question why wouldn't I just put review of episode 1 in the title. I think it's fine for people to review as much of a product as they want, just as long as they let people know up front that the review is not of the entire product. I think that's the part that Mike was missing from his tweet. And while Jack acknowledges that people should be upfront, kinda misses that there's a backlash because that's not what happened.
As a professional opinion giver, I will give my opinion of the first hour of the game if that's all I got through, because that's what I'm doing. As long as you're upfront about how much of it you played, nothing matters. Nothing matters.
Absolutely.
If people were surprised to find out that a reviewer wasn't finishing games before giving it a score, then that implies the reviewer wasn't being upfront with how much they played. Because in the eyes of many people, you can't give a score for an entire product if you haven't seen the entire product. That is, of course, unless the thesis of the review is that the game was so bad or so hard that you didn't want to or couldn't finish it. And even then, you shouldn't give a score to something you didn't finish. If anything, you're giving your impression of said product and not a review.
I don't have to finish the game to provide an opinion on it and provide impressions on it. Two different things, right?
Whoa, you're going into heavy semantic territory here.
No.
But I'm with you.
You would not watch a movie and score it if you didn't finish it.
Yes, I would. Because then my review is, I hated it so much, I didn't finish it.
It's not semantics. Each word has a different expectation that comes with it. And if you didn't finish a game or a movie, how can you give it something like a 4 out of 10? If you kept playing, it could have got worse and became a 2. Or it could have got better and became a 6. You're working with incomplete information, so your analysis is inherently incomplete as well.
Like if I play 10 hours of a 40-hour game, and in my review I say I got through 10 hours, here's what I liked and here's what I didn't. that is still a review of the first 10 hours. I like I said, I think you're getting a little splitty hairs as far as like what is defined as a review versus impressions or whatever.
Well, a review to me is a look at the final product.
If you only got through 10 hours of a 40-hour game, then you haven't even got through half the game. Yes, you can review the first 10 hours as long as you label it as the first 10 hours. But for the game as a whole, that would be considered an impression.
As a creator, if somebody didn't watch my full documentary and then had things to say about it, that would piss me off. And gave it a final score. It's like if they only watched 20 minutes of it and hated it and that was it, like, okay, well, I can't change that opinion. But
oh no, and as someone who often produces YouTube videos where someone makes a comment after not watching the entire video,
or just reading the title, yeah.
Right, we can all be sympathetic there.
So you get upset at people who don't finish watching your videos before commenting, but you're okay with reviewing someone else's work without even getting through half of it. You don't see the problem with that? Another thing that isn't really addressed is what constitutes completing a game. I don't think people expect reviewers to be completionists, to do every side mission, get all the achievements, and get a platinum trophy on the game. They just want the minimal level of completion based on what the game is known for. This usually means completing the main campaign. If it's a game that is known for its multiplayer, like Apex or Destiny, then there is definitely an expectation to complete a set amount of hours in the multiplayer. This is completely subjective, but for me personally, I think it would take like 8 hours or so to really get a good feel of what the multiplayer has to offer. Again, this is just my opinion on what I think should be the bare minimum requirements, especially for someone who works for a big company and whose job is to review games.
Reviewing, no matter what any of these fucks say, reviewing is a subjective matter.
Oh, yeah.
So that is our only job. We just articulate why we like something or why we don't. Maybe that makes us look into why we don't like things or why we do like things. Maybe that makes us dig into the behind the scenes and the mechanics a little bit more, but that's it. There's no like greater knowledge that we have than any schmo. We're just good at talking, as you see right here.
The whole not needing greater knowledge bit is in reference to the first half of Mike's tweet, that reviewers don't have to be experts in the game they review. And while I agree with this sentiment, I think the difference between a good review and a bad one is how thoroughly a reviewer can explain their opinion as well as answer questions that gives the audience a better understanding of the product. Because we all know trailers and previews usually aren't accurate representation of the finished product. We're just shown the best parts, and that's usually why people look to reviews to get better insight, to see if the product holds up to what we've been shown. I'm pretty sure we've all played or seen something where the middle or the ending section completely dropped the ball. Switching gears, I want to talk about sort of understandable reasons for not finishing games. We live in the age of technology and clicks. Everyone wants to be the first person to put their review out, to strike when the iron's hot and when the public is the most interested in a product. Unfortunately, that's just the state our society is in and what companies do. Because it works. If you work for a company that reviews games like IGN, GameSpot, etc., then you probably have a deadline you have to meet. You're given an early review copy of a game 3 days or a week before the game's official release, and the higher-ups want the review out by the release date or before, which just gives the reviewer even less time to play the game. This isn't even accounting for the time they need to write the review, record, and send it off to their editors. A similar situation can occur if the reviewer has a sponsor, and if the sponsor wants it done by a set date, you gotta do it or lose the sponsor. I understand it's a tight spot to be in. There's no way you're finishing something like an RPG that can take anywhere from 40 to 80 hours to complete in 3 days. But you got a deadline, so you gotta get through as much as you can. These decisions aren't done in the service of the audience. It's for the higher-ups and the sponsors. The audience isn't getting a complete idea of the product because someone had to meet an arbitrary deadline. This sucks even more when you remember that these companies usually give a score review. Several game developers and companies have a system in place where their bonuses, which should really be their paychecks, are tied to the score that the game receives. And though this isn't the fault of the reviewer and shouldn't affect the score of the game it gets, I just see this as another reason why, if you didn't finish the game, don't review it with a score. If you wrote a one-page paper for a class and the teacher only read the first paragraph before giving you a 60, you'd be pissed. Especially if that grade determined your pay.
When you add a score to it or add the label of a review to it, it has a sense of finality to it. And if you're not done with something, to me, it's like, I don't know.
I feel like
especially when like another reviewer might have finished it, and then people are just going to point at them like, well, this reviewer finished it, your integrity is worth shit because you didn't finish it.
And that's it. Thanks for sticking around till the end. Remember to hit the like and subscribe button if you enjoyed this discussion video. More like it coming in the future. Let me know in the comments what's your take on this. Should reviewers finish the game they review? And is not finishing the game because you need the review to be out by the release date a valid reason? If you have ideas for topics you would like me to cover, you can reach me over at Twitter and ask me there. And with that being said, until next time.